Welcome to the Retail Insider video series. I'm your host, Craig Patterson, and we're joined here today with a special guest. This is Craig Pike. He's the founder of Craig's Cookies, which has a few locations, primarily in Toronto, as well as I think now in Newfoundland.
Yeah, we have a location in St. John's.
St. John's, Newfoundland, where you're from. Welcome, Craig.
Oh, thanks for having me, Craig.
Now tell us how you got started, because I think you're from Newfoundland originally. Is that correct?
I am. I was born and raised in St. John's. I moved to Toronto in 2004 to go to theater school. I went to George Brown. After I graduated, I was working in the city doing independent theater. I ended up working at the Shaw Festival in Niagara-on-the-Lake. I was there for 4 seasons. And then I moved back to the city in 2012. And in 2013, I was working at a restaurant downtown and they fired everybody. And I had a month off of work and I needed to pay my phone bill. So I thought I would sell cookies for fun. And I hopped on Facebook and Instagram. And at the time, Facebook and Instagram were relatively new, and definitely no one was even marketing on Instagram. So I thought it would be a really great free tool to be able to get the word out about this, pimped out bake sale that I was starting. And in a month, I sold 200 dozen chocolate chip cookies, delivering them on my bike around the city. And went away, did some theater, came back, and started selling cookies again while I was bartending and acting. Did that for about 5 years, and then 5 years ago next month, in 2018, I opened my first location in Parkdale, and now we have 5 locations across the GTA, as well as, like you said, St. John's, Newfoundland.
Holy cow. Can you take us through a timeline of when these stores opened? Parkdale obviously was the first one. I think was Church Street the second?
Absolutely, yeah. So technically, for the first 4 years, starting in 2013, I was selling cookies, like I said, on my bike, but also doing flea markets in the city, the Parkdale Flea, the Bellwoods Flea, and I would literally sell cookies on the side of the road on a sidewalk. I'd wake up at midnight or 1 in the morning, bake a dozen cookies every 8 minutes, do that for 7 hours, put them all in Ziploc bags, went and sold them for 6 hours, and then would head home. So I did that for about 4 years. And then in 2017, I was approached by En Route magazine, which is a magazine that Air Canada used to offer, and they put me on the cover as a cookie company in a cookie company story that we were doing, and they matched me up with a Montreal-based cookie store, and that then kind of opened up the business to definitely more of like a Bay Street crowd. Before then, it was definitely friends, family, delivering cookies to people's homes and neighborhoods. And now I noticed, starting in 2017, after this article came out with En Route, I was doing a lot more corporate gigs, catering, and business work. So that led to a relationship with Williams Sonoma. They reached out and asked if I would do a pop up shop. So I went in and I made some cookies and got up at 1 in the morning and did the whole dozen every 8 minutes and went up to Yorkdale Mall and we sold out, I think, in like 2 hours. And they asked me back a month later. And Williams Sonoma, I'm not really sure if you or your listeners know, but they have little kitchens inside of their locations. So I thought, well, this is a great opportunity that I can actually bake on site and not have to wake up at 1 in the morning. So they were totally on board with that. So the next time I came back, I just brought my ingredients and baked on site. And the smell of the freshly baked cookies wafted into the mall. So people were coming in, asking what's that smell. Sold a bunch of cookies, but also Williams Sonoma was selling product as a result of it as well. So they saw a really great opportunity and invited me to be part of a 6 month permanent pop up shop. So in November of 2017, I took a huge risk and they rented me this little like 6 foot by 3 foot space where I could fit two little Breville ovens, a mixer, and a cutting board, and sold cookies there. And it got to a point where after 2 months, we were doing really, really well. But I was also rehearsing a play. I also conduct a choir called That Choir in the city, and I just was burnt out. Like I couldn't keep up with it, and I almost stopped Crazy Cookies because it's not necessarily my passion. The arts is really where my passion is. And then this space became available in Parkdale. It was 300 square feet. I'd always thought if I was going to open something, I wanted it to be small, to feel like you're going into your grandmother's kitchen. to grab a cookie. So I went and looked at it, and I had very little business acumen at the time. I still kind of don't. And I thought it was perfect. The landlord, didn't necessarily need much background checks based on his integrity, but that's a whole other story. So between the jigs and the reels, I had $4,000 in my bank. I gave my bank account, and I gave him all of my money for first and last month's rent. And I thought I could just open a cookie shop. And very quickly, I learned that it would be a lot more than just $4,000 in first and last month's rent to open a business in Toronto. So I was able to start a online fundraiser. Somebody came on board and was able to lend me some money. That found out about the store opening just from the public, and we opened our first location on April the 8th in Parkdale. So that in 2018. And then that was supposed to be just me and one other person for 2 years. That was kind of the business plan. I was going to give up acting, give up the arts for 2 years, and just really commit and see how this was gonna work. And like I had a really great career in theater and in music, but it was more so I was curious at that point in my life 5 years ago what would happen if I tried this completely different thing. Within a week, I think BlogTO came by and did a little video, and that video got 1.4 million views or something in like the first month, and we went from 2 employees to I think 8 employees within 4 days. And um, yeah, like we were expecting to sell something like maybe $80,000 of cookies that year, and we ended up doing 600,000
Oh,
in sales. Yeah,
wow.
and which was wild. And like 6 months later, Nordstrom's reached out, and we started our relationship with Nordstrom in at Christmas of 2018, which has
How?
been long lasting up until now. Sorry, I'm talking. Um,
No, no, and that's
do you have
actually where I
you have a
discovered
question?
Craig's Cookies. Funny enough, I'd actually discovered Craig's Cookies at Nordstrom at the CF Toronto Eaton Center. It was a kind of a, I would say, a kiosk by the escalators, and I walked by, and
Yeah.
of course I know because my name is, of course, is Craig, and I thought, oh, these look amazing, and I tried one, and I thought, oh my God, these are amazing, and I'm
Oh,
curious,
that's great.
I mean, where did you are these special recipes, or how did you come about creating these? Because people love them and they're delicious.
Yeah. And to answer your last question very quickly, I opened the Church Street location then in 2019 on Halloween. Bayview location then opened 2020 during the pandemic, Halloween weekend. And then in 2021, in the spring, I opened Leslieville. And then in 2021, in the fall, I opened Yorkdale Mall and Newfoundland. So that's the kind of the timeline. A major part of our growth as far as bricks and mortar happened during the pandemic. Um, the recipe is my mom's recipe. It's a really good chocolate chip cookie recipe, and then I kind of went bonkers and started putting stuff inside of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And how many different varieties of cookies? I'm not sure if I'm using the right terminology. Are
No,
there?
it's perfect. It's perfect. Everything is kind of the same dough, and whether or not we put chocolate chips in it or not. And then if it's a chocolate chip cookie, then sometimes we put a Mars bar inside or peanut butter cup inside. Sometimes we just don't put chocolate chips in it at all, which then makes like a toffee cookie or a butterscotch cookie. But in total, there are anywhere between 80 and 90 flavors. At our locations, the board out front only can fit about 20 to 22 flavors at a time. So part of the charm is that there are different flavors every time you come in. So you get to try something new every single time you come to a Crazy Cookies.
Amazing, amazing. How large are the stores typically? I've been to the one on Church Street, and I mean, I'm not even sure what the it's 1,500 square. I'm not even sure what the square footage is, but the first one in Parkdale was 300. What typically are the stores now in terms of size?
I mean, the store in Parkdale, the 300 square feet, we used to, like, there was four of us that used to sit around or stand around a table that was about the size of like a typical bathroom vanity, and made hundreds of cookies. So 300 square feet, definitely not ideal. What we usually try to look for is a minimum right now of 1,000 square feet. for a location.
No, no, that makes sense. Absolutely. Now, now the initial expansion, it sounds like it was quite successful. You mentioned there's location in, Bayview. We got obviously Parkdale, Church Street, Bayview Avenue, which is I think in Leaside. Is that the part of Bayview that it's located in?
I believe so. I feel like Leaside is this kind of like mysterious place where my phone changes and I need a passport to go to. But I think yeah, I think that's what it's called, is Leaside.
Yeah, yeah. And Leslieville, which is becoming a very hot area in itself. Is it Queen Street East? The
Queen Street East, yeah. Like I don't, like I said, like I don't have a business background, so I kind of just I remember reading an article years ago about Starbucks and the amount of time and effort their team spends looking into where they should open um, locations. So when I started expanding, I just started really thinking, well, where is there a Starbucks? And if a Starbucks just opened in a neighborhood, then I should probably open a Craig's Cookies in the neighborhood because they've done a lot of research on whether or not a neighborhood is viable. Um, so don't tell anyone, but I kind of piggybacked on Starbucks. It's really brilliant way of doing things. Like I think we can all have opinions on coffee and flavor and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as that brand is concerned, and their ability to continue incredible customer service over so many stores across the world, it's quite impressive.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and also Starbucks has closed a lot of locations, but that's probably irrelevant. I mean, they chose locations that were considered to be optimal for the most part, I think,
Hmm.
and a lot of them were successful. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Now there's a bit of an expansion, I think, happening now with Craig's Cookies, and it involves franchising. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I opened 6 stores, and what I've learned is that in the last 5 years, there's been so many great opportunities that Craig's Cookies has been able to offer um, marginalized communities, local community centers, schools, arts organizations. But there's also challenges that come with owning 6 stores and uh, the HR around that, and just the day-to-day running and operations. So I got to a point where after the pandemic and about a year ago, I thought, I'm happy with 6 stores now. This isn't necessarily my complete passion. Is owning a business. I love so many things about it. I love being able to employ folks. I love being able to give people jobs. I love offering a safe, welcoming space for people to come and enjoy baked goods. But my passion is the arts, so I was able to take a second and think, if there's an expansion within the company, how can that then maybe feed into a not-for-profit that I ended up starting this past August, called That Arts Group, with it's the parent company to That Theater Company and That Choir. That choir is a professional folk ensemble that I conduct, and then That Theater Company, we have our first play being produced in a month. We start rehearsals in a week. And so, with the growth of the company, we've been getting so many inquiries about franchising over the years, anywhere from Vancouver to Abu Dhabi. And so there's definitely like an interest, and so yeah, we started some really interesting, slow but serious conversations about a year ago, and it's only really in the last 2 or 3 months that things have really ramped up, and we're in serious conversations about franchising, and it's been really eye opening to me. I'm learning quite a bit, but also really forcing me to reflect on how to continually um, have protection over the integrity of the brand as it grows. So not going too fast, but also recognizing the opportunities when they arise.
Absolutely. Is there a goal in terms of the number of franchise locations that we might see for Craig's Cookies
There's,
across, say, Canada?
yeah, there really isn't. It's a good question. I think at the end of the day, I'm happy if there's one store that opens in a year and they're folks that I really enjoy and they stand behind the ethos and the culture of Craig's Cookies. And if there's 40 stores that can keep the integrity of what I've built, then that's also fine. I mean, it's also kind of making sure that us at head office here, which is a small team of only 5 people, where that we are prepared for that kind of that kind of growth. So while, like I said, you want to take advantage of an opportunity if it arises, you also want to make sure that you don't grow too fast, because if you don't have an infrastructure in place to be able to support it, then um, that's where, in my opinion and my little research, that's where businesses kind of can begin seeing quite serious challenges.
And in terms of the baking, would the franchisee be involved in that? Say if they opened a location, or what would be the plan there?
It's pretty exciting because all of these kind of decisions can be super fluid, and we're learning as we go. But currently, all Craig's cookies are baked fresh on site, and that's really important for the integrity of the product, that all cookies are made and baked fresh on location. Because right now, all 6 stores, all the cookies are made at each specific location.
Oh, yeah. No, that's instead of having one centralized kitchen, which I know that some places will do. Like I think Carlos
Hmm.
Bake Shop, everything is made in. Well, there's only two locations that are standalone in Toronto, but yeah, they're all made in Port Credit. But I was at the one in Yorkville, and they said that it's too small. They don't make they don't make the stuff there. They just get it shipped in. It's not that far, anyways. But
Yeah, yeah, no, we make everything on site.
yeah, yeah. Now, in terms of the design ethos of the spaces, is there sort of a consistent design? I'm just thinking, like, in the Village and in Toronto on Church Street, there's wood floors. Yorkdale, the Yorkdale Shopping Center location has a large rainbow kind of a awning on the top. Are the locations? Do you foresee sort of a similar design or something unique for each location, or what are you thinking? Any ideas there yet?
Well, I feel like it's twofold. I think that there's the culture of Craig's cookies that needs to be represented with every location. Myself being a member of the queer community and being a business owner, I think it's important for me, and I think it's also important for any business owner, for their business to reflect their own values. So Craig's Cookies is quite vocally and publicly um, a queer-owned business. So when you speak of the rainbow colors at Yorkdale, including the BIPOC and trans colors, I did that on purpose because I think I have an opportunity as a business owner to be able to give visibility to that community, and I decided to go bold with it. So, as far as the culture, it's really important. The culture stays the same at every location, but that Craig's Cookies remains a business that advocates for the queer community and marginalized communities in general. Um, I would say, as far as the look and vibe, the physical look and vibe of each location, absolutely. When I opened our second location, I remember, I mean, I'm kind of like a sponge. I think that's the only thing I really had to, not the only, but one of the things I have to offer to my growth in business is I just kind of listen to everything that people say. And I remember somebody along the way said, if you ever open a second location, make sure it looks exactly like your first location, and spend the time, to do that. So then you're building a brand and you're building a visual for your brand. I was like, okay, cool. So when I opened the second location, I made sure it was the same blue tiles, the same hardwood floor, the same countertop, art on the walls, black and white checker floors. So now all 6 locations have the exact same vibe. It's hardwood floors up front, blue tiles. The hardwood is a reckoning, not a reckoning, like a callback to my grandmother's Victorian home in St. John's. The blue is for the Atlantic Ocean. Most people assume it's Cookie Monster blue, but it's actually blue for the Atlantic Ocean. The black and white tiles in the back are just kind of stereotypical kitchen tiles, to make you feel like you're going into somebody's home as opposed to a store. And then all the art on the walls. So yeah, that vibe is definitely going to be something that's in place and mandated moving forward with any franchise.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Do you think you'll tie anything
Mhm.
around the art into the business at some point, given that that's your passion as well, or primary
Yeah, I
passion?
think I think what the opportunity is to be able to then uh, see how, continuing to be curious about how the cookie shop, my 6 locations, and then also anything that's coming from the franchisees, can then go back into the arts, whether or not it's financially or just visibility, as far as being able to support through donations of cookies uh, or other
Terrific, terrific. Is there anything else we want to talk about here in terms of Craig's Cookies today?
No, I'm good. Yeah. What's your favorite cookie?
Oh my goodness. I mean, that's a tough one. Was it s'mores? I think that was one of them. I mean, oh my goodness, I've had a few, but I like the straight up chocolate chip ones. They're just amazing. I don't know if I have a favorite because we've gotten, dozens at a time or purchased a dozen at a time and had different ones. And it's sometimes hard to choose.
It is hard to choose. It is hard to choose.
I'll try not to be a glutton because, I'm trying to work out and go on a diet, but it's hard when you got good
Uh,
things like Craig's Cookies out there.
exactly. You got to enjoy life.
It's very true. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been Craig Pike. He's the founder of Craig's Cookies, which is grown to 6 locations, is now going to be franchising, which means there's going to be opportunities, well, to not only eat Craig's Cookies, but to even perhaps own a franchise at some point. So I'll put some information in the show notes here as well. Thank you so much, Craig, for joining us today on this video interview.
Thank you, Craig. It's pretty good to see you.
And I'm Craig Patterson. I'm the founder and CEO of Retail Insider Media. I'm the host here of the Retail Insider video interview series. Thank you so much for watching or listening if you're listening to this on your podcast channel. Take care and bye for now.